Chapter 6. The Dance. This left Jacob all alone in the camp, and a man came and wrestled with him until the dawn began to break. Genesis 32:24. God expects those who believe in him to struggle, to wrestle with him. Can we complain to God about events that happen? Can we be real with God, our Creator? The Bible says we can. Dennis Prager, in his Rational Bible Commentary on Genesis, pontificates, because we have the capacity to think, reason, and challenge, it is impossible to go through life without questioning God about unjust suffering we see. We may get frustrated and angry with God. We struggle with God when we don't understand why a situation is not resolved the way we thought it should be. Existing with God is not easy, but a consistent, solid relationship with God brings purpose and meaning to life. Bringing purpose and meaning to life is one of humanity's greatest endeavors. My dance. I had many career changes in my life: jazz musician, classroom teacher, worship leader, and marriage and family therapist. Now I'm a senior pastor. I spent a good portion of my life working to obtain a license to be a marriage and family therapist in the state of California. This desire came to me after years of teaching public school music and full-time ministry in what most would call megachurches in southern Los Angeles. By that time, I knew that I was called to help people, but my struggle with God was that I wanted to be a jazz cat. At age 14, I was introduced to jazz music by my uncle and was on my way to play trumpet with the USC Jazz Orchestra in Germany. I listened to and imitated the album my uncle gave to me, memorizing all the piano solos on the album, Earl Garner, Concert by the Sea. Though I was a trumpet player on the tour, the music on that album was the catalyst to my love for jazz music and all music. Back to being a jazz cat. To me, a jazz cat is a musician that is recognized around the world for his or her expertise in communicating the genre of jazz to the world. My desire was to be the world's next Miles Davis or Duke Ellington. Having studied these people, I understood that this lifestyle would not be pleasing to God because of my desire to fulfill my wants instead of what God wanted for me. I wanted to live the fast life of gigs, girls, and good times. All of that comes with a touring jazz musician. I quickly learned that God had a better plan for me and my talents as I struggled to find a balance between a life of fast times versus a life of surrender. I stayed up night after night in my early 20s trying to figure out a way to have both a jazz career and be a good and faithful husband. I cried, I prayed, I shouted, I cursed, I wrestled. I even went to New York City to see if I could live that life. After having a great time touring NYC, I came to the end of myself and surrendered to God. It was a good time, and I remained faithful to Robin and to God, but I was not satisfied by the life of a jazz cat. I wanted what God wanted for me. I came home and made a commitment to my future bride to love and cherish her. It would be hard for me to do that and be away from her, traveling and touring all over the world. I wrestled with God about it, and I won. He blessed me, and now I get to be married. I still play jazz music. I get to be a jazz cat, but in a different way. I am surrendered to Jesus in worship. I delighted in God, and He blessed me by giving me the desires of my heart. Do the dance. Turning back to our key verse from Genesis. In the morning, when the struggle between God and Jacob came to an end, God said to Jacob, "Your name will no longer be Jacob. From now on you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men and have won." The name Israel means struggle with God. God not only gave people permission to struggle with him, he was actually asking us to struggle. I call that struggle the dance. This dance with God makes our faith authentic, and it is that authenticity which keeps us from turning into religious robots. Struggle means our relationship with God is real. Is there any person we love with whom we have never struggled? Why would it be different with God? Best-selling author Jon Acuff says, "Wrestling with God is a sign of intimacy. You can't wrestle with someone you're far away from." Great men and women complained in the Bible. Abraham, Sarah, Job, David, Jeremiah, Jonah complained to God. God did not strike them down. God heard their prayers and answered them. Dancing with God is not easy, but the dance with God brings purpose and meaning to life. I want to encourage you to dance with God. There is nothing wrong with it. Don't be afraid to question him. We are allowed to do that. There are believers who think that wrestling or struggling, even questioning God, is disrespectful and irreverent. But God assures us it is not only respectful, it is expected. Simply note that we should not question him in a bitter, arrogant, or profane manner. We are invited to dance with God. Doing so makes our faith authentic. It keeps us from blindly following what we are told and causes us to strengthen our faith.